So in this first guide video, I'm going to show you the most immersive settings for new players, as some of the starting settings might be really confusing if you just got the game and you don't know what to select. So when you start the game, you have the main screen, and if you want to play solo, you click on solo. And here are the 4 basic game modes, and those are several scenarios. Now, my recommendation is to play with the most standard game mode, which is Apocalypse. And it's a stealth focus and short lifespan. Now, the other modes, for example, Builders, says construction, exploration, and farming focus, a more relaxed experience. Now, this might be slightly misleading for you. You can still do all of that thing in Apocalypse. It's just that if you play Apocalypse, the game throws all its features at you from the beginning. So you don't get the watered down experience when you play the first time. And I think that's the best way to play the game. Okay, so select Apocalypse. Okay, so here you can pick one out of 4 starting towns. And I recommend starting in Marlborough. Now, there's 2 reasons I would recommend that. Now, the first is that Marlborough is the first city I think they developed when they started developing the game. And I think it's the most boring city in the game. So why you should always start in that. Maybe you play DayZ. And you know in DayZ, if you always start in the southeast or east at the beach. And if you go very far west to the northwest airfield, that's where all the exciting stuff is, the best loot and the most exciting combat situations. And if you start in the east always, then you always have something to look forward to, something boring to get away from to get to the better stuff. And if you already pick some of the more advanced towns that are closer to the biggest cities in the game, then you're basically taking away some of that magic of looking forward to something better to find. And the second reason is, there's a unique feature in this game that you might not be aware of when you play this game for the first time. When your character dies on the save you start, you have the option to play a new character on that same save, which means the game world just keeps continuing as it was, but you play a new character. And then I especially say that you should start in the same starting town you started before. Because as the game world progresses, it changes in certain ways. Like buildings become overgrown. When it's winter, everything freezes and streets get plants and all that. And then slowly the difficulty of the game increases as the starting city you always start in with a new character slowly loses all the resources that you have, and you have to play in different ways to survive. Okay, now at our occupation screen. That is similar to a game that you might see if you've played Fallout. You can pick a specialization, or you can select traits, positive and negative. That will change your starting condition in some ways. Well, I personally like to play as a completely unemployed character every time. Next. Here is select the character's appearance. Now this is mostly cosmetic. You can change your haircut later in the game, even your hair color. And clothing factors into the game depending what season it is when you start a new character. Click play. Okay, so now we just started a new character. Now, this screen over here and this button only exists if you play with developer cheats on. I only have it on because it makes it easier for me to film certain things. So just ignore those. Now, here's one more thing I would like to recommend for in-game settings. When you open your map for the first time, this is Marlborough. It's sort of in the center of the map. So when you play this game for the first time, I'd recommend to not look up online sites that show you where the best loot is or that show you the whole map at once. I think those are really useful sites. However, only visit them once you know a part of the game really well and you already explored some things. Because there's a huge amount of gameplay to be had in this game if you just follow a road and you have no idea where it leads, what you can find over there. It leads you to epic adventures you would not have if you would know that if you go that direction, you know already what's at the end of it. So I highly recommend not using online maps until you get to know the game a bit better. Okay, now I want to show you one more thing about continuity of gameplay on the same save, as I explained earlier in the video. If your character died in a Died in a save. You might be really angry. You might Alt F4 or even uninstall the game and come back to it later. And then you see like this skull icon on that save. That means your current character died on that save. You see a screenshot of when it happened. And you will be feeling really angry, and you might want to play a new save because you just lost a great character. You get attached to it. However, start a new character and play in the same save. I promise you, when you start playing the new character, you get attached to it, and the old character becomes a fond memory you remember sometime after playing. Okay, so pick the same save, you go play. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I select always mod draw because it's the most boring turn in the game. Then a character.